Bam! Sinubok man ang katatagan ng bawat isa sa mga pinakamatitinding pagsubok. Hindi tayo sumuko, bagkus tayo'y lumaban. Hindi nagpatinag ang tibay at lakas ng loob. Tayo ay bumangon at pinakita sa buong mundo ang pusong Pilipino.
There he goes! And he clears it! Yes! Wow!
Your Olympic champion in the women's 55-kilo gold to the Philippines. Heidelin Diaz.
Just 23 from the Philippines, Carlo Palam. And it is Alex Ayala. Nesty, Patricio.
Champions of FPL, Luckless International.
Early, he's going to finish the half twist.
Ating kilalanin ang mga natatanging personalidad sa mundo ng sports na nagbigay ng pag-asa at karangalan sa bansang Pilipinas sa taunang Spin.ph The Sportsman of the Year 2021.
Good afternoon to our Spin readers. Welcome to another episode of Spin Zoom In. Zoom in naman po tayo ngayon after last Tuesday nag-POV tayo, but ngayon meron naman tayong guest. This is our show where we put athletes and sports officials on the hot seat. So tingnan natin kung mapapatanong natin ang mga mahirap na tanong ang ating mga guest natin today. But bago natin ipakilala ang ating mga guests sa football po muna ang topic natin today at after laging basketball ang pinag-uusapan sa POV, but now we'll be talking about football and yung recent success na ating Philippine women's football team. Sobrang grabing achievement na nakuha nila. Naka-book sila ng first ever World Cup ticket sa isang national team. So mamaya pag-uusapan natin ang mga football analysts na nandito. But first, pakilala muna natin ang mga panelists na kasama natin today. Hi, my name is Carlos Ramos. It's my pleasure to once again to be returning to this Zoom in to moderate the show. Alongside with me are my fellow siguro beat reporters and siyempre mga mahilig rin sa football to. Unahin ko na si Carlos Pineda. Hindi lang pang esports to but mahilig rin pala sa football. Carlos, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Carlo. Thank you so much sa introduction na yan. Um, Actually, super excited ako kasi ito yung pinaka-first Zoom-in episode ko na hindi esports related. So, syempre yung utak
Oh,
ko naka-switch mode na kasi parang kagabi puro laro-laro ng games. Tapos nung niyaya ako ni Kate na makisama dito. So parang, okay, this is something new. Pero sige, go lang ako. And I'm quite curious to hear the thoughts from Natasha and from Sidelf regarding yung Philippine women's football team namin. And good luck to them for their match later against South Korea.
oo nga, mamaya. They've already made history, but they're aching or eyeing to make more history later when they go up against Korea in the semifinal match in the AFC Women's Asian Cup. So mamaya, malaman rin natin, parang preview na rin to ng match nila later. So malaman natin thoughts ng mga nasa team mamaya. So, but now, pakilala ko muna Sir Jerry, one of our associate editors sa Spin. Sir Jay, hindi mo na basketball pag-usapan natin today. Musta?
Yes, hi Carlo and hi Carlos. Talagang magka-rhyme pa halos yung ano nyo. And welcome again to another edition of Zoom In. And sabi mo nga, Carl, maiba naman tayo right now, no? Punta naman tayo sa football where hopefully it would be another momentous occasion, another momentous moment para sa Philippine sports later dahil alam natin mga kalaban natin sa semi-finals ng AFC Asian Cup ang South Korea, yung national team natin, no? Up against South Korea later. And yung dalawang guest natin, bibigyan tayo ng mga updates. And syempre, kung what's ahead for Philippine football in general and syempre in particular women's football after we clinch a berth sa 2023 FIFA World Cup. Kaya standby lang kayo lahat dyan. Carl?
Yes, sir. Yun. Again, to our viewers, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and now may bago na tayong platform, Twitter. Pati Twitter, live na rin tayo. So, mas maraming platforms. Makikita nyo kami. So, pag meron kayong mga tanong or mga comments, just post them down below sa mga respective comment section ng FB, YouTube, at Twitter. So, yun. Pakilala natin ang mga guests natin. Lady first. She's a, Lasal, former Lasal and Philippine, pwede pa ba Maldita? Pwede ba may mga ayaw na magsabi
Pwede pa yata, pwede pa.
Yes, sir. Yung mga fans parang mahilig pa rin na yun pa rin yung tao sa kanya. But again, she's a former Philippine Maldita midfielder and now she's the acting president ng Philippine Women's Football Association, the lovely Natasha Alquiros. Tash, good afternoon. Hi. She's live from Thailand, no? Tash.
Yes, good afternoon and thanks for having me.
Yun. Yun na. And our next guest, ito idol ko to. Dating sports writer. Sports writer pa rin naman malamang to pero other side of the fence na siya ngayon. Isa sa mga siguro star journalist nung siya pa nagsusulat. But now he's the PFF Media or Communications Officer, Mr. Sadef Tupas. Brad, sir! Basta.
Wag niyo naman
Straight
ako
from
sir.
Ninja rin yan, ha? Carl, di ba? Straight from Ninja.
Tanda mo na.
Brad, ulit
Thanks for having me. Medyo tight yung oras because it's actually our kickoff is around 2.5 hours away. So ito yung mga oras na medyo yung support staff very busy. Actually, I'm about to bring 4 lunch boxes to the coaches na nauna doon to set up the dugout. Tasha knows that there's a certain game day routine for every team that na nasasamahan mo. And it's one of them na kailangan i-set up ang dugout, ready na dapat ang food, ready ang uniforms, ready ang warm-up gear. So these are ng mga trabaho ng mga support staff na hindi natin nakikita. So I'm just waiting for the transport na magdadala sa akin doon. But yeah, ako okay lang ako basta kayo walang problema. Lalo na si Carlo, sir, kasi baby pala si Carlo, kasama ko na sa coverage.
Yun, nga.
Oo nga, oo.
Sinama mo ako sa lahat ng mga important ASCAS coverages. Isa ka sa, dahil ikaw ang ikaw ata talaga sikat na ASCAS. Ikaw ang pinasama mo talaga ako sa rise ng ASCAS. So baka busy ka. Ilang minuto ka lang pwede ngayon?
And we'll just wait for the transport. Kasi andito kasi sa amin, what happened was nung nagkaroon kami ng COVID scare, we have 2 extra MPVs. So we usually do is that kung sino ang may exposure pero negative naman, pero may exposure, just to be very very careful, sinasakay doon sa van. No, so every mag-isa lang doon sa van. So may mga ganun kaming precautions because you'll never know eh. This has been a very challenging tournament because of COVID talaga. Ako, I've handled media officer duties for the men's team nung last year dun sa Sharjah, yung sa World Cup qualifying, and then sa Suzuki Cup noong December lang, bubble pareho. But pagdating ko dito, paglapag ko sa India, parang sabi ko, mukhang iba ang challenge dito. And then you heard about the story of the Indian team spending millions of dollars to prepare their team, and unfortunately had to pull out because they had that COVID situation sa kanila. Kulang na sila ng players because nagka-COVID nga yung parang 14, 15 players nila. So, imagine mo na pinaghirapan nila yon, and pagdating nila dito, gano'n na din mangyayari. Sila pang host. Gumastos pa sila para mag-host. So, we don't want that to happen. So, sobrang ingat kami because we didn't want the hard work of the girls and the sacrifice to go down the drain. Siyempre, our responsibility goes beyond our work dito. It's more of really keeping the bubble safe and keeping its integrity intact.
Okay, so parang daming niyan palang inaalala, hindi lang yung the match fitness ng mga players, yung pala ang dami rin behind the scenes.
Ito ang pinaka-stressful sa lahat. 'Di ba magpi-PCR ka nung gabi, 'di ba? Kunwari, Thursday ang gabi, may PCR ka. So Friday ang result lalabas. Tapos Sabado yung laro. Sa pagka Thursday ng gabi, habang naghihintay ka ng result sa PCR sa Friday, ano ka na? Hindi ka na makatulog dyan. Ganon din siguro. Hindi ka rin makatulog. Kahapon, pagkalabas ng PCR result for the semifinals, at okay lahat, nag-iba ang mood ni coach eh. Okay na ulit.
Okay. Baga nabunutan ng tinik.
Ganun ang situation every time.
Okay. Anyway, si Ruben Terrado Balata ang ating, actually siya yung nagsusulat sa atin ng football lately. After dati ako yung nagsusulat, but nung napunta ako sa desk, si Ruben na yung nagsusulat sa atin. But he'll try to catch up later, may ginagawa lang ata siya. But before I turn over to Sir Jerry and Carlos, i-warm up po na muna kayo, si lady first muna, si Tasha. Tash, first question ko lang, being a former national team player, parang when you look back, how far has it come for you when you look at what the team has accomplished now?
Syempre, this one has been completely a milestone talaga. As a lot of people have been saying, that this win has definitely changed the landscape, the culture, the support of Philippine football. Sabi niyo nga nung start, 'di ba? Maiba naman tayo, maiba naman football naman kasi usually laging basketball. So that alone already says a lot about how much this win has really changed how the Philippine people have seen women's football, and that we've put women's football on the map. As I said, I've played football so for a long time. So dati wala talagang media coverage, zero. Wala, parang nauso lang yan mga 2011, 2012, but very slowly lang then, and very few. But now you can see that the women's national team are getting all the support, all the articles, the interviews, and people are really trying to talk about women's football as much as possible. And it says a lot about all the hard work that they've put all throughout the years, almost qualifying in 2013, almost qualifying in 2018, and now finally achieving the first goal that they've set out to make it to the World Cup, and now reaping the benefits of it all.
Okay. Would you have wished na sana ngayong time ka naging player para mas nakita mo rin yung, kumbaga nasabayan mo yung rise nung yung women's team ngayon?
Honestly, no, because I think that even off the pitch, we've all played the part that we needed to play for this to happen. So the former players really had to be there to lay the groundwork and, you know, pass on the knowledge we had to the next generation. And then the connection that we have. Kasi yung mga nakasama ko sila, Ina, Hailey, sila Cam, Rodriguez, nakasama ko sila eh. They were my teammates also before. But knowing now that they also have that extra support from the outside, from the Philippine women's football community, supporting them off the pitch as well. So even before this outside media and the frenzy of everyone being there, the former players were already there, starting with the Women's Association, really giving them outside support to know that regardless what happens, that there is support for them.
Okay, and ikaw, Brad, sa Delph, ikaw naman tanong ko, yung about dyan naman sa current landscape mo ng team ngayon, how's the team now? Kumbaga, we've already made history, but are they eyeing, kumbaga, are they aching for more? They're not yet satisfied with what they've accomplished.
Well, definitely, iba ang mindset nitong team na to. The number one, Coach Allen has really, I know, parang I knew it was a challenge to really refocus after such a euphoric event, diba? So immediately siguro binigyan niya ng isang araw to really relax muna and really soak in the euphoria of making that making the World Cup, and then after that back to work na kaagad. And the good thing about these players that we have, sobrang humble nitong grupo na to, that they are actually very they parang aware sila sa nangyayari, but at the same time hindi rin sila satisfied kasi alam nila they've trusted the work that they had all these years, and they parang nasanay din sila dati na hindi sila masyadong nakakuha ng attention, but now mas naganahan sila because people are watching them, and it's been they read all the messages and all the attention that they're getting back home, and they know na parang nagiging motivation pa sa kanila to na parang sige, mas maraming nanonood sa atin, di galingan pa natin, di ba? So that's the mindset here na nakikita ko with the team and with everyone involved. Ang maganda lang dito, they have a really good coach, si Coach Allen, na masyadong really genuinely cares about women's football and developing the team. Hindi siya yung type na may mga reputation ng foreign coaches that they're here for they want to get our money, and then yung kunin na nila yung trabaho, and without really having a really good relationship with players, basta gagawin lang nila trabaho nila. But here, parang may puso yung pagtrabaho niya at pag-treat niya sa mga players niya. So swerte tayo, hindi kinip ng Australia to. Nakuha natin to.
Australia's loss nga, diba sabi? Australia's loss is our gain.
Exactly.
So yan ang mga observations ko. Gutom ang team. They're a bit greedy. Basta pag binigyan mo kasi ng konti, mayroong may gusto pa eh. And I haven't seen them play for Coach Allen. I haven't really seen them at their really best pa. Marami pang may potential pa ang team to be better. So hopefully they will be better against Korea mamaya.
Okay, before I ask more questions, I'll turn you over to Carlos, ikaw naman na magtanong. Your first set of questions.
Okay, sige. All right. So, hi Sadelf and hi Natasha. It's an honor to
Hi,
be to
Carlos.
see you guys in the show. Yep. So, you guys threw a lot of praise for Coach Alan Stajic. I mean, it's quite evident with like the way he plays. Like, nung nag-Discord kami ng friend ko, okay, unang sinabi niya, sobrang ganda ng possession game ng Malditas kumpara sa Azcals. Which, I mean, kung natawa ako nung sinabi niya yun. I mean, it's clearly evident. So you have like a defensive midfielder or a deep line playmaker, si Jessica Miklat, who just drops deep along the center backs to support, and then you also have like hindi sila nape-pressure yung mga center backs natin with regards to the pressing game that the likes of Chinese Taipei would throw into us. So my question would be for both Delph or for Natasha would be, what are your thoughts on Coach Alan Stajic's game plan? So perhaps I'll start with you, Natasha.
Well, I think that when it comes to his game plan, well, first of all, I just want to add on to when Carlos said, "Do I regret not being playing for the national team now?" What I wish was that I was able to play under a coach like Coach Allen, because I think that being under a coach like Coach Allen could have really elevated my game and could have maximized my potential as a player, which means that that's also what he's doing with the players that he has in his arsenal right now. So all the players that he has, he's able to maximize their potential in terms of that. Even players, he's able to adjust their positions and get the most of them. When you think of si Eva Madarang, usually attacking player siya para sa women's national team. She usually plays as a striker or as a winger, attacking winger. But now she's playing as a right back and she's thriving in that position. So despite needing to play her in a different position, he's able to get the best and the most out of that player. And also the likes of being able to use Riley Bugay as a utility player sa midfield. Siya yung actually yung defensive midfield na sinasabi mo earlier. Because let's say back in 2018 Southeast Asia, 2018 Asian Cup, she played as a center back. Now that we have Randall there in the back with Haley Long, she was pushed up in the midfield as well. So it's nice to see what he's able to get out of these players, that he's able to change them up, take advantage of their strengths and weaknesses, still put them in different positions, and they can still perform and give the best that they can for this national team. And of course, as you can see how they play, they're very compact. They're very versatile. The players are very versatile, and at the same time, they're able to keep the ball. But the good thing about Coach Allen is that for him, it's not enough. He knows that defensively, we've been doing our job, and that we've had clean sheets, 6 out of 8 has. If you break it down, yung nasabi niya in like former interviews. But in terms of ball movement, in terms of how we attack with the ball, he's still not satisfied. And that's what you like from him and from your players, is that they're hungry for more. Sinabi nga ni Sadelf then na we haven't even seen them at their best. And I truly believe that, because there's so much potential for these players, and we still haven't seen what they're really capable of doing at their best. And we hope to see it now in their game against Korea and in their future matches as well.
Yep, that's a really nice insight, because you mentioned the fluidity of the players. Like Eva Madaran is a perfect example for that. And then you did mention like the other members, even Serena Bolden. Like, I'm surprised that she's up front, but she could actually move from the left or the right. So there's just so much unpredictability with this Philippine women's national football team, and with what Coach Alan Stajic is doing, like with giving his players like the ability to to play across multiple positions. It sort of reminds me of the European managers like Sina Graham Potter and Sina Paulo Fonseca. They love to experiment on putting players like across multiple positions, and I think it's really helping the Philippine women's national team. So, how about you, Delph? What are your thoughts about Coach Allen's game plan?
First of all, Carlos, ang lalim ng mga hugot mo, ah. May ano ka pa, Graham Potter ka pa, tsaka Paulo Fonseca. but yeah, taking cue from what Tasha said, and observing, what everyone sees on the pitch, yung performance is just a product of what I've seen in the last few weeks here. Indonesia, nakita ko how Coach Allen prepared them for a really compact defense that really packs the middle, na hindi mahirapan ka makalusot. And Coach Allen just hindi naman siya masyadong, he doesn't want to complicate things. Yun ang gusto ko sa kanya, players when they go to a meeting, they bring their notebooks. And dinadiagram doon kung ano ang, not only tendencies ng kalaban, but what are the areas where they can exploit. And yun ang he doesn't complicate things for the players. That's why the players are also seem to have a good grasp on what they're doing every time they are put in situations. So parang may mantra nga dito, no, win the moment. So win your own moment, no? Parang whether it's a 50-50 ball, makuha mo, that's your moment, you win that. So may mga ganun you win your small battles and the team wins together. So it's more on the not just yung motivational side, but also the way he manages the players. Alam niya rin yung limitations ng players natin. Isa din yun. And he doesn't put players in positions where their weaknesses are very much exposed. Isa pa yun sa maganda sa kanya. So he knows that kung ganito ang body shape ni, for example, a defender, he knows that it's not going to be a very good situation sa team. So kailangan i-cover mo yan. Kailangan itulungan mo yung teammate mo. So there is such a thing as yung ganyang klaseng coaching dito. So it's keeping it simple and really not just maximizing what the team has and the talent that they have, but also minimizing yung weaknesses ng mga players na ma-expose dito at this level. Because at this level, ang dali mong ma-expose. Pag hindi ka talaga magaling, alam ng kalaban at they will really put you in a position na mahirapan ka. So yeah, I'm not a coach and I'm just observing all the time. Si Tasha B licensed coach yan, kaya pwede nyo tanungin ng technical yan at naglaro yan. So hindi ako pwedeng mag-comment about things like that. And I'm just saying what I've observed here. So yun, nakikita ko sa game yung mga nasa meeting, mga nadidiscuss sa meeting, and mga nakikita ko sa practice sa training ground. So it's a good sign because nasusunod ang game plan.
Yep, indeed. So, base sa mga sagot nyo, like, I can see Coach Allen, like, having that sort of adaptability na, which is actually really required now. Kasi the modern game of football ngayon, especially based on what I see internationally na, kailangan marunong ka na mag-adjust. Kailangan open-ended ang football ngayon eh. Like, there's really not any specific position that you have to stick with or like a specific strategy. Parang kailangan mo na matutong like to decipher an opponent's game plan and to make some certain adjustments. So far, yun ang mga questions. Sige,
Carlos, wag naman natin ikumpara yung team sa Ascas. Kawawa rin naman natin.
Okay, sorry.
Magaling din naman ang team na yun. Wag naman. Batiin natin yung women's team, pero wag na natin naman kantsawan yung men's team.
Okay, sige.
Ako din nag-aalaga nun, ha?
Okay, sige. So, pasensya na sa hugot, pati sa mga ilang bagay na yun.
Okay lang, Carlos. You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Pare.
Na-excite lang ako, sorry.
Okay. No, but just to add on lang, to parang put a positive spin to it was that during the time of the, let's say, miracle in Hanoi and when men's football was doing well, the hopes was always so that women's football could also have a chance, would get from the hype of men's football. And now, it's just that the tables have turned and there is this renewed energy for football and it's coming from women's football. And now we hope that the younger kids, though men or women, that they all get hyped about football and to continue to support. Because at the end of the day, it's still football. Men's or women's, it's all still football and it's still a growing sport in our country. So if one team does well, we all do well as a country.
Yan. Papalitan. Tash, ikaw, palitan tayo ng trabaho, Tash. Ikaw na mag-sponsor.
Zoom into Brad, dapat okay lang kasi may mga hot seat questions talaga. Dapat ang sagutin mo yung mga mahirap na tanong.
Oo naman. Ready naman tayo dyan. But yeah, tama si Tasha, no? That the Miracle in really set the stage for everyone in football in general. Even the media, even the mainstream media na they started taking notice with football. Tasha and I have had discussions over the years on what's good for the game, how can we change the game in our own little way, and we needed something like this to change the game, ang success, so hopefully with what's happened, it will spur more support for football and for our teams. Ang kailangan din natin isipin na yung future generation, it gives them an opportunity. I think all this means is that if there's an opportunity, it's worth investing, it's worth giving support kasi nga
Wala ka taso there. Brad.
Yan.
Hello? Sorry.
Sige.
Naputol ako. May tumatawag. Ang mga tao sa stadium tumatawag na. So, I don't think I can stay.
Mukhang
wala
mukhang makakat na si Delph. Okay.
Wala.
Iniwan na tayo si Delph. So, focus na tayo kay Tash muna ngayon. But, yun, Carlos, do you have more questions for Tasha?
Actually, no. I'll give the ball to Sir Jerry naman.
Yeah. Sir Jerry, your turn.
Yeah, sige. Thank you. Ito, Tash, may ano lang naman, update about you lang muna bago yung talagang question ko. Well, sabi nga kanina ni Carlo, you're in Thailand right now. Ano bang ginagawa mo dyan? Naglalaro ka ba dyan? Na alam naman natin, very active din yung women's football dyan sa Thailand.
Actually, so I moved to Thailand because my husband, Patrick Dato, who also plays for the men's national team, is playing now for Suphanburi FC. Yeah, so he's playing Thailand football. And of course, because of the pandemic, we used to do long distance, and kasi madali lang pumunta sa Thailand, tas mura lang dati yung ticket. So, I would just come back and forth. But syempre, because of pandemic time, you have to choose at the moment where exactly you want to be, and you have to stay there. And so I'm here right now in Thailand. I used to play open play lang. Mga open play lang dito sa Thailand. And then, now I'm actually pregnant. I'm 7 months pregnant. So, iwas muna ako sa laro. But what we do now is that I work for women's football through the Philippine Women's Football Association. So this is something that we started out somewhat mid of last year, but the planning of this has been 2 years in the making, which is to be an ally for women's football in the Philippines, to be a community, a vibrant and positive community for women's football. So not just for the national team, not just extra support for the national team, but the whole local community in general, how everyone can chip in. Yung nga parang sinabi ni Delph, na how can everyone, even in the smallest way possible, how can we contribute to the growth that we want to see in Philippine football? How can we help change the culture of Philippine football in our own way? And so, syempre, for us, I guess this is our way of being able to contribute to the change that we want to see in the world.
Tawadi ka pala, Tasha. Tawadi ka. Tasha, kahit nung player ka, did you ever imagine, or did you ever think in your wildest dream na we were going to be able to make it to the World Cup?
From a player's point of view who's been there, actually, kaya talaga eh. From our point of view, we knew na mahaba pa yung it was going to be a while before it would happen. But as I said nga, balikan ko lang din yung topic din natin when we were talking about men's football at yung miracle ng Hanoi and how important also that was for women's football. Para naman, to be fair to them as well, was that I've been playing for the national team since 2006, 2007. And there was no media, no hype, no coverage or even photography or anything for women's football during that time. 2007, 2005, yes, kasi we held Southeast Asian Games sa Pilipinas eh. So, syempre, all around, given na yon. But 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, wala. And then, the miracle in Hanoi happened. And then eventually, nakuha rin ng traction yung women's football during that time. That was the first time also that I've ever been interviewed. That was the first time na, parang nakita namin na may konting traction din para sa women's football. And that was because of the rise of men's football. So that's why nga, fast forward to where we are now, it's nice to see na that renewed energy and support naman. Ngayon, coming naman from women's football, leading the way. So maganda rin yung give and take ng both men's and women's team. But yeah, coming from an insider's point of view, I always knew we were going to make it to the World Cup, especially since 2012, 2013, when we really had our first camps abroad. That was the first time we had a US training camp, wherein the goal was also to get foreign-based players, most especially from the US, players to be part as well of the national team. There was a lot, kasi alam naman natin that there are a lot of Filipinos based abroad. Ang daming OFW. For sure, everyone here, may isa tayong at least relative na based abroad. Ako nga ngayon based abroad eh. So parang, di ba, it's very normal to be able to want to scout in areas kung saan meron din mga Pinay na magaling mag-football in different areas of the world. And most especially sa US. Kasi yung US women's team magaling sa football eh. Maganda yung collegiate football nila, yung program nila. So when we were able to scout and see even much more the talent that we have, the Filipinos who are playing abroad, and be able to maximize their potential with the local-based players, we knew that we have a solid chance. Now it's just finding the right preparation, the right funding, and the right coach. So throughout 2013, let's say up until this moment, ngayon lang natin nakuha yung ultimate combo nun. Na nakuha na natin yung tamang preparasyon, which was, nagkaroon nga sila ng 3-month training camp stage, which was very crucial for the development ng team na to, because they really had the time to mold and to bond and to really make sure that all of them were on the same page. We had the right funding because PFF has been gracious with the funding for this tournament, as well as the likes of outside sponsorships, especially coming from Jeff Cheng, came into the picture. And third but not the least, syempre, is the introduction of yun ang sinabi ni Sir Nonong Araneta sa isang interview, was the missing link in the puzzle, which is si Coach Allen. Siya yung missing link because he's been there, he's done that. Ginawa niya yun with Australia, naka-Asian Cup na siya ng 2 times, nakapagpunta na siya ng World Cup. So for us to want to be in the caliber of being able to make it to World Cup, we need to have a World Cup coach, a world-class coach. And, we also have to give talaga to the PFF for being able to get Coach Allen even in the first place. And because of that, this missing link completed the puzzle, and now we're able to be where we are right now, which is a ticket to the World Cup.
Tapos follow-up na rin dun sa question ko. Yung mga binanggit mo na preparations, funding, and then yung foreign coach, are these factors wala nung time mo sa team kaya hindi ganun naging ka-successful yung past campaigns? No?
Yes, there were even times all throughout, let's say that, from 2007, I'd say, to 2016, there were even years na walang football tournaments at all for women's football. I think that was 2010 and then 2014 also, if I'm not mistaken, na inactive talaga ang women's football. So how can you see the continuous development or growth of players and of a team? Tapos for the longest time, mabilis magpalit ng coach eh. as in, siguro for my lifetime of playing, I think I was under a total of 7 coaches. Diba? So parang in 10 years, 7 or 8 coaches. Paano naman yung for the complete growth? And usually, one tournament a year. Kapag dalawa yung tournament sa isang year, then you could see a bit of growth from the team. 2 to 3 tournaments, it's great. Pero kapag wala talagang preparation also beyond that, is ang hirap. There is no continuity. And now, as you said nga, especially starting, I'd say 2017, with the popularity also, you have to give it kasi naging popular din nagkaroon ng rise yung women's football yung popularity niya. And with that came more tournaments, more funding, more sponsors, etc. And so let's say like for these group of girls or for the preparation for this, imagine pandemic, imagine also technically still pandemic time pa rin to The last tournament they had was 2019 Southeast Asian Games. They were inactive for over a year. They were all called for duty for the Asian Cup qualifiers, and with Coach Maro, and they were able to qualify by beating Nepal and by beating Hong Kong. So that was already, I guess, the first step of the preparation, and I think that was in August or September. So not so far from where we are now. They were in the States. They had a small camp in the States. Naglaro sila sa Asian Cup qualifiers. Umuwi sila, but after that, I think mid-October or end October, they went to the States again. So tuloy-tuloy yung preparasyon, and because of that, they were able to be where they are now. And we also have to give it nga to the women's national team who are playing later, because imagine how they prepared for this 3 months. So walang Christmas, walang New Year with their family. They were together with the team. So you also have to see the sacrifice and really everything that they've put to be able to get the outcome, which is nga this World Cup berth for women's football and for football in the Philippines. They really put in a lot to be able to be where they are.
Yes, so worthy naman talaga yung naging sacrifice ng mga football players natin. Okay, 4 more questions. Carlo?
No, sige sir. Tapos yung can I ask you about recruitment ng team? Do you have any idea how they were able to recruit sa yung mga standouts natin ngayon na hindi natin nakuha dati? How do you think the recruitment has improved from the past? Puto nata si Tasha.
Wala yung si Tasha.
Anyway, bago siya bumalik, yung again, to our viewers, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and our new platform sa Twitter. So kung may mga questions kayo at comments, just post them down below. And ito, basa muna tayo ng mga few comments dito sa Facebook. Ito, sabi ni Jeffrey Jacosalem, good luck sa Malditas game mamaya kontra South Korea. Sabi ni Ed Liamas, kalimutan nyo na basketball, football na lang, mas may pag-asa pa Pinoy. Ngayon pa na palpak ang program ng basketball. Sabi rin niya, continued training, it's the only way to succeed. No beating around the bush. Ito sa ano naman. Ito may question nata si Jam na nakita sa ito may pinost si Jam sa Viber. Sabi on Facebook si Ma'am Elma Pumarin. Sabi niya, tanong lang mga sir at ma'am, tapos na po ba yung contract ng Australian coach sa Malditas at sino magiging coach ng Malditas sa World Cup? Ayun, dapat nga dapat mawawala. Dapat may ngayon yata yung at the end of the Asian Cup yata yung end nung diba? But sige Tash, before we head to that, naputol kita kanina. What's your
Yeah. Tama lang yan. We can go to the question now. Yun nga, actually, yun nga din yung sinasabi ng lahat ng tao, diba? Kasi may mga dami ng mga hashtag, Instag, we trust, or parang everybody wants him to stay with the Philippine women's national team. And we hope that he will stay with us as well. I heard from, I think it was the PSA forum ba yun na they will be in the talks after this, and that will be of course one of the main priorities nila is to make sure that we can have Coach Allen all throughout our preparations from now until the World Cup. Kasi ang ganda ng pinakita niya with his connection, his energy, the potential he was able to maximize with the players that he's had. And it's still the beginning. Kasi imagine, 3 months pa lang niya kasama yung team. Ito na yung na-achieve niya. So what more kung 1 taon, 2 taon, 3 taon nakasama niya yung women's national team? What more he can achieve? Kaya yun talaga yung goal, which is to make sure that we can get him and continue to have him on as a coach. So from everyone on the outside, yung mga hindi naman tayo kasama sa mga talks at negotiation nila, is all we can do is to make that outside noise, to keep the buzz up, and for him to know that the Philippine people, we want him to stay on as our coach.
Yun nga, relating to my question earlier about recruitment, did Coach Allen have a hand in recruitment? I know medyo late, bago pa lang siya sa team, but how can you answer what can you think of the recruitment now compared to your time?
I don't think that I would be the best person to be able to answer this because hindi ko naman sila kasama when sa mga camps sa States. But from my knowledge is that and from actually since 2012, 2013, marami din talaga tayong pool of players in the States kasi nga nagkakaroon tayo ng mga tryout camps sa US for the US and foreign-based players. So when it comes to being able to recruit players from the US, yun nga, nung nag-camp sila sa Irvine, California ba yun, is marami din roster talaga. May roster na ng players playing abroad brought to the camp there. Pick out as well who would make it for this team for the Asian Cup qualifiers for the Asian Cup. So may hand naman siya in picking, pero may roster na rin yung PFF ng players. The good thing now is that because of where we are at this moment, is that we can attract even more foreign-based players. And let's say, sana nga, the likes of si Mas Pacheco, who is playing in the Women's Super League, which is like the women's version ng EPL, ng English Premier League, that we can attract players like them she's both, English and also Filipino, na to choose her Filipino roots and to play for us for the World Cup. So yun din yung mga, what he can bring, hopefully, is that it also attracts more players to know about the women's football national team. And then second is to attract more players as well to be able to really buff up our lineup.
Okay, and bago magtanong, pumasok na ang ating lead correspondent and football reporter, Brad Ruben Terrado. Brad, musta?
Ayos naman at pasensya na, medyo may inasagaso lang tayong konti but una sa lahat, I want to thank Natasha for accepting our invitation on such a short notice and yun, tapos nasa abroad pa siya, so thank you again, Natasha. But my question, Natasha, is with regards to, siguro gusto kong balikan yung game against Chinese Taipei to sa tight contest nga. But ano tingin mo yung naging key dun sa ating victory, considering na Chinese Taipei is such a very superior team? On your part, what do you think was yung nakita mo talaga na impressed you the most do sa Philippine team na yun? Na I know lumaban tayo against Australia, but yun nga, winning against Chinese Taipei was such a huge accomplishment. What do you think was the difference in that match?
Well, I think also that yung difference din nun is that actually, pati kahit nung start ng game pa lang, we were more on the attacking end We had more possession and we were able to play in the attacking third more. We saw ang daming chances ni Sarina Bolden and nila Gilu nung sa even sa first half pa lang. So we were on the better side of it. Like let's say if you come into the half, we were playing the better football among the two sides. So we brought that momentum on to the second half. And we were able to capitalize nga sa 47th minute. So yung momentum ng first half, nadala natin sa second half, sa 47th minute. Yung problem lang doon was that we weren't able to sustain. And kaya nga, nung sa 82nd minute, nakascore yung Chinese Taipei, which is si Li Ping. Which is, I guess, also something that the team can work on, is being able, kasi we could have talagang beat them by 90 minutes pa lang eh. Pero bumigay tayo ng konti. And not to give it to anyone else, kasi yung goal was a wonderful goal. Nothing the keeper could have done about that. Fantastic strike talaga siya. So you have to give it also to Chinese Taipei. They were able to get back in the game. Yung nangyari lang is nag-shift yung momentum. Now the momentum was more with Chinese Taipei towards the end of the match and entering the first half of extra time. So naglaro tayo ng buong 120 minutes, 1-1 yung score. And the reason why I think now what's different about this team was that all throughout, even despite Chinese Taipei scoring the equalizer, is that yung mental focus nila was still there. They were very sharp, they were very focused. And yun nga, they were able to carry on even with that pressure. And they were able to translate it nga during sa penalty shootout. Wherein kahit yung odds were stacking up against us, kasi nga yung Chinese Taipei first to shoot, the odds increased for Chinese Taipei. We were also the first team to miss. So yung odds na naman for Chinese Taipei tumaas. But then, when they missed that penalty, when it went to that far left, nabuhayan nga si Olivia ng konti. And she really had to step up. So during the penalty, we also have to give it to Olivia McDaniel because she made a save to keep us in the game. She scored a penalty and then made another save before Serena Bolden took it home for us. So yung step up then, yung, for the players taking accountability, responsibility, yung confidence that they brought, and the fact that they never gave up. So maganda yung mindset ng players, which is nga something that you can give to the coaching staff as well. And to the habit formed by this team. Yung sinabi nga ni Sedels, diba, earlier, na win the moment. It's all about winning the moment. Kasi when you win each moment that you have, it leads to the win of the team. At pinakita nila yun against Chinese Taipei.
Yeah. Speaking of Olivia McDaniel, what's your impressions about her na medyo different sa ating mga previous keepers, no? And you mentioned about yung crucial saves niya and yung goal niya sa shootout, but people baka nakakalimutan nila, she was also the goalkeeper when we won against Thailand, no, in that clean sheet na first win after 13 matches, no. So what's your impressions about Olivia McDaniel as a keeper? Na maybe different from the others, with all due respect to the previous goalkeepers also, but what can you say about Olivia's play so far?
Before that, I actually want to add na grabe talaga yung Pilipinas when it comes to goalkeepers. Ang dami nating magagaling na goalkeepers.
Right.
Whether sa men's or the women's national team.
True.
Na sa men's team natin, diba, you have the likes of Neil Etheridge, Michael Falsgaard, Patrick Dato, si Kevin Mendoza. Ang dami nila. Anyone can start at any given moment. And the thing is that, sa women's national team, ganun din tayo eh. May time na si Kiara Fontanilla, kailangan siya yung maglaro and she was able to step up. We've had Ina Palacio for the longest time and she always steps up to the challenge. Ngayon naman, the introduction of this new goalkeeper, Olivia McDaniel, and again, she can step up to the challenge. I'd say that the advantage of Olivia McDaniel is that, which we saw from the Thailand game, is that her kicks can reach to the attacking third. So ang ganda nun for the transition or mabilis na counter attack. So when it comes to that, that's an area of her game na I guess wala pa sa other goalkeepers natin, is that she's able to kick the ball much further. And so if we're a team that's going on a quick transition or a quick counter, is that ang bilis ng step na yun from goalkeeper to attacking third na kaagad. So that's one of the dimensions of the game. Second, of course, she's tall, she's strong, her build is good, And she can play also with her feet. Nakita natin in mga small moments yung mga pass back sa kanya.
Tama, no?
Is that she was she was able to play the ball even short. So she has a long range, but she also can play the ball short. So she's composed as a goalkeeper. And that's the number one thing that you want with your goalkeeper, that you have a composed keeper. She can play long kapag kailangan, but then she also knows how to play it short. So may dimensions din ng paglaro niya. And of course, the confidence and the aura that she brings for this national team. We saw it that in the Thailand game as well, was that she would come out. So from the corners, from the crosses, she's able to come out and catch the ball, not just punch the ball out. She's able to catch the ball. When you catch the ball, you hold possession for the team. So that's also one of her biggest strengths, is being able to come out and catch the ball from crosses and from corners. So marami din talagang nabigay si Olivia for this team when it comes to being able to really help the team keep possession as well.
Yeah, and then sa defense naman, Tash, no? Of course, si Hailey Long has been there for a long while, but I think personally, I'm also very happy, very impressed with Dominic Randall. No? So, what can you say about yung backline natin in their performance over the course of the Asian Cup?
As in, we could see it naman from the results ng team natin and the clean sheets that they were able to have against Thailand, against Indonesia, against one half against Australia, one half against Chinese Taipei, na our backline is very solid. You know, they're very capable in aerial challenges, but they can also keep the ball. So yung magandang combination with Harrison on the left side, si Randall and Hailey Long sa gitna, tas si Madarang on the right, is that all these players, they're good on their feet, and as well as they can attack from the flanks. So nakikita natin a lot of times si Harrison nag-a-attack din from the left flank, tapos si Madarang nag-a-attack from the right flank. And then yung advantage din nun is that si Madarang is maganda yung, he has a long throw. So kapag may throw in, parang nagiging cross din siya So it's an additional factor na nadadala niya sa game. And so our team and our players in the back line, they're very good defensively, being able to do their job. Actually, sa team ngayon, when it comes to the, I'm not sure where I saw this, pero alam ko yung top scorer ngayon sa squad na ito is actually si Hailey Long among all the players, though she has the most caps for us. But imagine, she's also scored 11 goals for the women's national team. So, nakakatulong na nga siya sa defense, and she's also part of the attack. She's also there when you need header goals coming in from corner kicks, etc., etc. So, maganda yung what this backline can bring, because they're solid in the back, they're able to defend, stay composed, and at the same time, they also help when it comes to the attacking aspect of the game.
All right. And siguro last na lang pala, siguro moving forward na, no, with yung immediate, which is today, the semifinals against Korea. We all know that Korea is a very tough team. Noong 2018, natalo tayo 5-0, but marami nagsasabi nga na with the performance of the Philippine team, anything can happen at this point. No? So, ikaw, Tasha, what's your thoughts about the Korea game? What do you know about Korea? They're mentioning Ji, who's really one of the best players in Asia. So, what can you say about Korea?
I think for this game, really, let's start now with Korea nga, that when it comes to Korea, grabe talaga yung caliber ng players nila, because they have 3 players who are playing in the Women's Super League, which is the female version of the English Premier League. And si Ji So-yun, yung one of their players, 'di ba, na nakascore din ng magandang goal against Australia ba yun? And then si So-hyun din yung naglalaro. So like, we have players who played for Tottenham, for Chelsea, and for Brighton. And they're also translating it kasi nakakalaro sila ng maganda for the Korean national team, as well as they were also involved in the time when they beat us 5-0 noong 2018. I think that they're really also the team to beat kasi natalo nila yung Australia eh. Natalo nila yung Australia sa quarterfinals. So everyone will have an eye for them. And we're again coming into this game as an underdog. Pero sanay na tayo sa pagiging underdog eh. Just think about it all throughout this tournament. Ang dami natin nagawa as underdogs. Na checklist sa history. We beat Thailand for the very first time. We made it to the quarterfinals of the Asian qualifiers, Asian Cup for the very first time. We made it to the semifinals for the very first time. We beat Chinese Taipei, if I'm not mistaken, also for the very first time. So you can't count us out. You can't count the Philippines out. Kasi nga, as CJ, ang daming miracles na napopol ng team na ito. So for sure that they will give a hard fight. But who are the favorites into this game? It's no doubt that it's going to be Korea. Pero yung maganda na lang din is that we can use this last few games, this game against Korea, as a gauge to see how we can perform for the World Cup. It's a good gauge to see talaga kasi we're going against the top 20 na sa buong mundo eh. Korea is playing for the top 20. So we want to be able to use this game as well as a gauge for how far we are, what we need to adjust on, and what else can we improve on. So whether we win or whether we lose, we have everything to gain from this game. In terms of whether we win, it's great for our confidence. And if we lose, it's a good experience for us to be able to prepare for our next goal, which is really the World Cup.
All right. Carl, back to you muna.
Sige, bago ko i-transfer kay Carlos, Tash, may yung isang tanong ko lang, yung who, we've mentioned yung mga players who've been on the spotlight, sila Sarina Bolden, syempre our goalkeeper, Olivia McDaniel. But can you mention one unsung hero who has impressed you na hindi masyado nababanggit lately?
Ayan.
Ang hirap eh kasi lahat sila talaga magagaling eh. I can't stick to one, but I'd say that I'm impressed then with the performance of si Miklat sa gitna.
Mm-hmm.
So maganda yung performance niya, being able to hold the ball, and also she's usually the one also who takes the mga corner kicks natin and the mga free kicks na binibigay for us. So maganda yung fight niya sa gitna. And as a player who's starting, sometimes coming off the bench, I also really love talaga Sara Castañeda. I really love the way that she plays, and it also gives a boost talaga for all the local-based players because the caliber of Sara Castañeda is really something else. She was a child prodigy. I've seen her play even nung bata pa siya. Alam ko talaga, magaling talaga siya. And the fact that she was able to consistently bring it, and nakita natin, when it comes to the penalty shootout, kanino yung pinakamagandang penalty? Yung kay Sara Castañeda. Top right corner, sobrang composed niya eh. Nakasmile pa siya ng malaki. So, I think that in general, all throughout the years, I think Sara Castañeda has really been a player that is so wonderful to watch. And the composure that she brings in that midfield and how she's able to change the game and to give through ball passes. Magaling siya mag-create ng plays. So I guess for me, the two players that I really love, like that I've additional to the whole team, which I think that they all deserve all the support and the credit. But yeah, I guess two players that haven't been mentioned as much would be si Miklat and as well as Sara Castañeda.
So yun, but now you've mentioned them, mas magkakaroon na sila ng spotlight. So ganun, that's what we talk about, yung depth ng team, na sobrang lalim na talaga ng team ngayon. So we'll see more of that later when we face Korea. And yun nga, ikaw na, Carlos muna. Do you have any final questions?
Okay, so one of my questions would be, given all the things you said about the players we have, like Olivia McDaniel na pwede siya mag-long ball, and then you have Sara Castañeda na magaling mag-through ball. And given Coach Allen, like in the previous matches, so like he relies a lot on the possession game. Like we've seen like 60% possession against like Chinese Taipei. So do you believe that when we face against the likes of South Korea and even the other World Cup teams, do you think Coach Allen will deviate from his usual possession game plan?
I think it would really depend. The thing with Coach Allen is that it's hard to expect, like you cannot expect just a one way of playing. Kasi nakita nga na natin that even throughout the games that they've played, in every game he has a different lineup depending on what he needs. So sometimes he play a bit more defensively, but then sometimes he play a bit more attacking. So he's able to adjust to depending on, I guess, who we're going against. But yes, hopefully the goal is that he'll be able, as what he said that he wanted as well, is that how we move with the ball. That's something that we need to work on. And he knows that also. He's seen it himself, that that's something that the team needs to work on, our ball movement and what we do with the ball. And to hopefully not be able to translate. Because we've had only very few chances. Let's say even against the Australia game, which is, let's say part of the top teams talaga in the world, was that we had the first shot there. We had the first chance, a quick transition, 1-2 with si Sarina at si Chandler McDaniel, but we weren't lang able to convert it. So whether his game plan is to try to keep more possession or to focus on the counterattacks and make sure that we're able to convert those counterattacks, though they are few. Because at the end of the day, what matters really will always be the score. Whether you're a possession team or a counter-attacking team or a team that's just good in transition, at the end of the day, what matters is the score. And I think that with a coach like Coach Allen is that he can change tactics and still be able to come out with the result. So I'm not sure exactly what kind of team that he'd want to really prepare for when it comes to the World Cup. But all I know is that we believe in what he can bring and the capability that he can bring for the women's national team. So whatever they choose to play, the whole team will be on board. Kasi minsan, di ba, may mga coaches na ito yung tactics. Me as a player, parang you question your coach. Sometimes you question your coach and like you don't believe in it. You don't buy into it. And the good thing about Coach Allen is that he's able to let the whole team buy into his project. So the whole team has complete faith and trust in the process that he chooses. And I think that that's the good thing about this team and this coach and why they will do well also in the future tournaments.
Yep, indeed. And you did mention like the ball movement. That's something that needs to be improved according to Coach Allen, which, to be honest, it could be agreed, because one of the biggest criticisms about the way the Philippine women's national team play was that when it comes to like very, very clogged defenses, like very compacted defenses, the Malditas like has this tendency to Hail Mary their way or just to rush their shots. Do you think this is currently one of the weaknesses of the team, or do you think there's still some other flaws from the team?
I don't think that most especially in this tournament, it hasn't been so much of a weakness, because if you could see, usually they're able to weave their way out anymore. If you're talking about like, yes, before, I'd say that even during my time that like, when the defense is under pressure talagang, when in doubt, just kick it out talagang, diba, as much as possible, just clear it out of the danger. But now you can see more fluidity, as you said, with the team na parang, even when they're under high pressure, they're still able to pass the ball around. And even when there's pressure on them, they're able to use their flanks and try to attack on the right and the left side. So it's not so much anymore as that when they're attacked, they don't know what to do. I'd say that this team is actually pretty more composed than, let's say, how the national team was like years and years back. And you also have to give it kasi to the fitness level that they have at the moment. And because I'd say that, we also have to give it to their fitness coach and to their training regimen, because when you're tired, you're more capable of making mistakes. But you can see that very few yung mistakes ng team natin. And I think that it says a lot again about Coach Allen and then this team, that I don't think anymore, I'm sorry, but I'd have to disagree that we just kick the ball out as a Hail Mary. But I think that more often than not, we're still able to kick the ball up. But then, yeah, I'd say in few instances, yeah, there were times that we tried to throw it long tried to find Serena, but she wasn't there. And yeah, that's I think one of the things that we'd have to work on. But I'd see that we're slowly progressing towards that. We're seeing that less and less na.
Yeah, thank you so much for those answers, Natasha. I really like those insights. Carlo, paso ko na yung bola sa'yo.
Yun. But kay Sir Jerry tayo, Tash, we've come to the portion of our show where we ask questions to you na you have to answer quickly. So si Sir Jerry may baon siya na some questions that you have to, kaya mo sagutin agad. Sir Jerry.
Yes. Tasha, parang lang to, parang ito yung portion namin na fast break kung tawagin namin. No? May mga, lang naman, sometimes questions or choices na sasagutin mo in a quick manner. As like a football player na kailangan mabilis ang galaw, di ba? Okay. Tash, first
Sige.
question mo na, yeah. What's your greatest moment as a football player?
Beating Iran 6-0.
Wow. Kailan yon?
2013, the parang Asian Cup qualifiers.
Wow. Saan ginawa yung
Nasa Bangladesh.
Okay. Okay. Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi?
Messi.
Okay. Burger or tapsilog?
Tapsilog.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Basketball or volleyball?
Football.
Football. Ito, alam ko sasagutin mo rito eh. Patrick Dato or Neil Etheridge?
Patrick Dato.
One more na lang. If hindi ka naging football player, saang sports ka magiging involved ka?
Kung hindi football?
Yeah.
Shock, sa hirap niyan. Hindi ako sure. Possible volleyball, softball.
Okay.
Volleyball
So,
or softball.
football
Basta
player.
team sport. Pero football talaga eh. Futsal na lang. Pwede
Football player.
futsal.
Futsal, pwede.
Pwede futsal.
Okay, thank you, Tasha, for your time. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Carl?
Yun, banggitin ko lang si Miss Ceres Lina nanonood sa nag-message siya nag-comment siya sa YouTube. Hi Ceres, another one of the football advocates natin. So Tash, do you have any last messages and how bright do you think the future will be for Philippine women's football?
Tsaka fearless forecast na rin.
Tama, sige.
Tama. Fearless forecast.
Ayoko muna mag-fearless forecast. Pero punta muna tayo sa shoutout na I hope that this continues to be a trend na hindi siya magiging once in a while lang napapag-usapan yung football, but is something that is in our daily lives na rin na kagaya nga ng basketball. That's the goal naman of all the other sports is that we also want to be given the same attention, the same support, the same funding and sponsorship. And we hope that with such a moment as making it into the World Cup, that it translates into support, outside support and funding to grow the game in the Philippines. Because yes, we made it to the World Cup, but what's important ngayon is how do we take care of the potential of women's football? And we can only take care of that if we continue to help it thrive and grow by supporting it, by funding it, and by making sure that we focus also on grassroots development, local development, and making sure that there's a league and a home for women's football here in the Philippines. Second is that, we hope that people also learn more about the women's national team through the different articles, through the different platforms. Follow Pinay Football and the Philippine Women's Football Association. And we are the arms of the women's national team as well. And our goal is to just help advocate for the growth of football dito sa Philippines. And of course, continuously support the women's national team. They're just at the beginning. We don't know pa the potential of this women's national team, but you have to give them the right support for them to achieve their full potential.
Okay.
Yun.
Yun na. Yun nga. Maraming salamat, Tash. And on behalf of
Teka Carl, si Carlos baka may fearless
Carlos,
forecast.
baka may pahabol ka ba?
No, wala akong fearless forecast for now. No, not now. Not in my first episode.
Kaya hindi na makapili. But Tash, baka ayaw mo talaga magbigay ng forecast mo for later?
No. Wala talaga akong magbigay ng forecast. Kasi bonus game lang to eh. Parang nakuha na natin yung kailangan natin gawin. So parang bonus game lang to. I just want everyone to watch this and have fun watching the women's national team.
Yun na. So yan, we've come to the end of interesting
pasalamat lang din, Carl. Pasalamat lang din muna ako kay si Delph Tupas for joining us earlier. Medyo alanganin yung oras dahil ang laro is 4 o'clock pero sinamahan niya tayo. So thank you Brad. At ingat kayo dyan sa India.
Thank you.
Brad, thank you. And again, Natasha Alquiros, the acting president of the Philippine Women's Football Association. Maraming salamat, Tash. And on behalf of our one-man production crew, Ja Mariano, my name is Carlos Sacamos. It's been our pleasure with my fellow Spin staff. It's been our pleasure to conduct another episode of Spin Zoom In. Kita-kita po tayo next week. So next Tuesday for Spin POV. Maraming salamat po at ingat po tayo lahat. Good luck sa Malditas later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.